Today, the parents of missing University of Virginia student Hannah Graham made an emotional plea for their daughter's safe return. And while she hasn't been seen in over a week, tonight, for the first time, police have publicly named a person of interest in the case.
In September 2014, 18-year-old Hannah Graham disappeared into thin air after a night out in Charlottesville, Virginia. At first, there was hope as security footage showed her walking with a mysterious man, sparking early leads. But as the investigation unfolded, those leads crumbled, leaving investigators at a standstill. For weeks, Hannah's fate remained a chilling mystery, and the search seemed to hit a dead end. Who was the man seen with her? What really happened that night? Let's unravel the truth behind Hannah's disappearance. Hannah Graham, a bright and ambitious young woman from Vienna, Virginia, was a graduate of Thomas Jefferson High School. She later moved to Charlottesville to pursue a degree in psychology at the University of Virginia. Known for her intelligence, warmth, and friendly nature, Hannah was deeply loved by her friends and peers. She embraced college life with enthusiasm, balancing her studies with a vibrant social life. Hannah had a supportive circle of close friends and was a cherished member of the university community. Her parents, John and Susan Graham, were incredibly proud of her accomplishments and the promising future she was building. Despite her busy academic life, Hannah loved attending social events, meeting new people, and exploring different experiences. Tragically, this bright and hopeful journey came to an abrupt halt following a night out with friends on September 13, 2014. Hannah joined her friends for a night out in downtown Charlottesville. The evening began at the Downtown Grill, a popular local bar where she was seen enjoying herself, laughing and socializing. However, at some point, she became separated from her group, and the night took an unexpected turn. Around 1 a.m., Hannah texted a friend to say she was leaving the bar and heading home. Yet, instead of going directly home, she was seen walking alone through the streets of downtown Charlottesville. CCTV footage captured her walking along 2nd Street near the Pizza Hut and Market Street areas around 1:20 a.m. She seemed disoriented, her head down, as if lost in thought or possibly under the influence.
And that's one reason why I've been at every Moshe's trial hearing, every time he's in court. I want my face there because I want him to see me, because I want him to know that I know.
Shortly after, Hannah appeared on surveillance footage with an unidentified man. Who was this man? Why was he with her that night? What role, if any, did he play in the events that followed? These questions would later become central to the investigation. By 2 a.m., Hannah's phone went silent. Her friends, increasingly worried after failing to reach her, informed her parents. Alarmed, John and Susan Graham immediately contacted the police and rushed to Charlottesville to join the search for their daughter. What began as a regular night out quickly turned into a nightmare.
Thousands of hours have been spent in an effort to find Hannah. We think perhaps today proved their worth.
Hannah's sudden disappearance sent shockwaves through the community and set off a desperate search for answers. The search for 18-year-old Hannah Graham began just hours after her disappearance was reported on the morning of September 14, 2014. The local authorities in Charlottesville, along with university security, quickly mobilized to locate her. Soon, the community joined in, offering their support. Volunteers, search dogs, and even helicopters were brought in to assist, hoping for any clue that could lead to Hannah's whereabouts. The Charlottesville Police Department worked tirelessly, leaving no stone unturned as they followed up on every lead, rechecked areas where Hannah had been seen, and scoured the streets of the city.
Now, Hannah Graham was on this mall last Friday night into Saturday morning. She walked from one end of the mall to the other end of the mall, and she walked past people. And now we have reason to believe she was inside of a bar on this mall with an individual.
The entire city of Charlottesville rallied behind the search efforts. Family, friends, and even local businesses played a huge part in spreading the word about Hannah's disappearance. Flyers with her image were posted all over town, and social media quickly became a hub for updates. People from all backgrounds volunteered, hoping to find any trace of Hannah. Yet despite the overwhelming support and wide-reaching efforts, days passed with no sign of the missing young woman. The police knew a few key details about Hannah's movements. She had left the downtown grill around 1 a.m. on September 13th and was seen walking alone through the streets of Charlottesville. But after that, the trail went cold. There were no more solid clues or sightings, and this left both her family and the community feeling helpless. Each passing day brought more uncertainty and anxiety, but everyone continued hoping for a break in the case that would bring Hannah home safely. On September 19th, 2014, 6 days after Hannah vanished, the investigation finally took a crucial step forward.
It was close to that road as far as it being accessible.
The Charlottesville Police Department released security footage from a camera near the downtown grill where Hannah had last been seen. The footage, captured in the early hours of September 13th, showed Hannah walking alone. In the video, she was briefly seen interacting with a man who appeared to be following her as she walked through the streets. This footage raised immediate questions. Who was this man? Why was he with Hannah? What did his presence mean? The police released still images from the footage, hoping someone in the community could identify the man seen with Hannah. This new information added a significant layer of mystery to the case. It shifted the focus from a general missing person search to something much more troubling, the possibility that the man in the video had a key role in her disappearance. It didn't take long for the man to be identified. His name was Jesse Leroy Matthew, a 32-year-old former student at the University of Virginia. He was no stranger to the Charlottesville area, which made his connection to the case all the more unsettling. Once Matthew was identified, he was brought in for questioning. He admitted to having seen Hannah that night but denied any involvement in her disappearance. His story, however, raised suspicion. While he denied any wrongdoing, the fact that he was seen with Hannah in the footage and in close proximity to the scene made him a person of interest in the investigation. The police, growing more suspicious of Matthew's involvement, began digging into his background. They searched his apartment and his car, looking for anything that might connect him to Hannah's disappearance. Although they didn't arrest him or formally label him as a suspect, the police were becoming more focused on him. The investigation now had a clear lead, but the mystery of Hannah's whereabouts remained unsolved. On September 20th, 2014, more than 1,000 volunteers joined the search efforts, which expanded beyond downtown Charlottesville.
Well, my initial reaction, the first thing that came to mind was the situation back at Liberty back then. I don't know, his name came up, so I immediately thought about that. So that was the first thing that came to my mind.
Despite their determination, no new clues surfaced. The community's commitment to finding Hannah was unwavering, but the frustration of coming up empty-handed was evident. The search for answers seemed to be stalling. 2 days later, on September 22nd, the police returned to Matthew's apartment for another search. This time, they seized some clothing, though they didn't publicly explain its significance. It was later revealed that this search was considered a major breakthrough in the investigation as the police began to tighten their focus on Matthew. With the clothing in hand and growing evidence against him, the authorities were narrowing in on the man they believed held the key to the mystery. At the same time, the Charlottesville Police Department offered a $100,000 reward for any information leading to the discovery of Hannah. The investigation was now fully centered on Jesse Matthew, but what had happened to Hannah that night remained a chilling mystery. The days that followed would be filled with twists and turns, and the search for answers would only intensify. Despite the mounting evidence against Matthew, the full truth of what happened to Hannah Graham was still just out of reach. As the search for Hannah Graham continued, the investigation started to uncover important developments. On September 23, 2014, Charlottesville Police Chief Timothy Longo made an announcement that changed everything. Jesse Matthew had been officially charged with abduction with intent to defile. This charge made it clear that Matthew was now the main suspect in Hannah's disappearance. Just one day later, on September 24, 2014, the case took another big step forward. Chief Longo, along with the FBI, revealed that Jesse Matthew had been arrested. He was found in Galveston County, Texas, after a woman spotted him on a beach and recognized him from the news. She called the authorities and they quickly moved in to arrest him. This capture was a major breakthrough as police could now question him directly about Hannah's disappearance.
Jesse Leroy Matthews was released from the Galveston County Jail. He was booked out to be extradited back.
With Matthew in custody, the investigation became more focused. Police worked to figure out exactly what happened and Matthew's role in the case.
Peninsula, his arrest initially for refusing to identify himself to authorities came after a phone tip from a resident who saw the 6'2", 270-pound man with dreadlocks.
At the same time, they expanded their search for Hannah. On September 25th, officers asked property owners in nearby counties to check their land for any signs of her. Search teams worked day and night, covering as much ground as possible. By September 26th, however, no new evidence had been found. Even so, the search continued with determination. The community stayed hopeful, knowing that every lead was being carefully investigated.
We're still looking at the vehicle, and whatever evidence that they find from there will move forward. The area where he was on the beach, we've located nothing.
While the arrest of Jesse Matthew was an important step forward, the search for Hannah was far from over. Her family, friends, and the community refused to give up, holding on to the hope that she would be found and that justice would be served. On October 18, 2014, search teams made a discovery that changed everything. Human remains were found on an abandoned property in Albemarle County, Virginia, by members of the Chesterfield County Sheriff's Office. While this gave investigators hope for answers, it was not yet confirmed if the remains were Hannah Graham's. Chief Timothy Longo shared the news with the media, but explained that more testing was needed to be sure. Hannah's parents were informed about the discovery immediately. The remains were sent to Richmond, where the chief medical examiner carefully examined them.
What, if you could even put into words, was going through your head as you prepared for that press conference?
How do you prepare for that?
6 days later, on October 24, 2014, the worst fears were confirmed. The remains were identified as Hannah Graham's. This brought some closure to her family, but also deep heartbreak.
When they discovered what appears to be human remains.
That same day, her parents visited the location where their daughter's remains had been found. It was a deeply emotional moment for them as they faced the reality of her loss. As investigators continued their work, more details slowly came out about how Hannah died.
Matthew has already been charged with abduction with intent to defile in the case of UVA student Hannah Graham. Graham went missing in September and was found dead in Albemarle County a few weeks later.
On November 18, 2014, the Washington Post reported that the cause of death had been determined. However, police chose not to release specific details at that time, likely to protect the case. Later that day, the Albemarle County Police confirmed that Hannah's death was a homicide. The medical examiner stated the cause of death as undetermined etiology. This meant that while it was clear Hannah had been murdered, the exact way she died was still unclear. This confirmation answered one major question, but left many others unresolved. Investigators continued their work, determined to find out exactly what had happened and bring justice for Hannah and her grieving family. As investigators dug deeper into Hannah Graham's case, a chilling link to an older tragedy came to light. On September 29, 2014, police revealed a breakthrough. Forensic evidence tied to Jesse Matthew also connected him to the 2009 murder of Morgan Dana Harrington.
And sir, I got a question for you.
Okay.
They took all my clothes and they got me sleeping on a hard thing. I don't feel like I should be able to have some kind of clothes.
Morgan was a 20-year-old Virginia Tech student who disappeared after attending a Metallica concert in Charlottesville. Months later, her remains were found in a remote area just 5 miles from where Hannah's body would later be discovered. Authorities confirmed that Morgan had crossed paths with Jesse Matthew on the night she went missing. The forensic match left no doubt Matthew was involved in both crimes.
You appear to me to be dressed in a jumpsuit.
Well, once I get back, they're going to take my jumpsuit off and tell me I have to take my jumpsuit off. And
Medical has to clear you out of medical. That's a requirement of medical. So once medical sees you and clears you and they move you to another cell, then they'll give you the jumpsuit back.
This revelation shifted the case dramatically. What began as a single investigation now painted a darker picture of Matthew's history. He was no longer just a suspect in Hannah's case, but a key figure in a second, horrifying crime. Jesse Matthews' legal troubles quickly escalated. In December 2014, he appeared in court for charges related to Hannah's murder. His attorney chose not to request bail, signaling the severity of the case.
This afternoon, prosecutors say that Jesse Matthew Jr. will plead guilty to the murders of Graham and Harrington to avoid the death penalty. Prosecutors said they plan to seek the death penalty if Matthew was convicted in the Graham's case.
In February 2015, Matthew was charged with first-degree murder and abduction in Hannah's case. Just a few months later, in May, those charges were upgraded to capital murder, which carried the possibility of the death penalty. However, in March 2016, Matthew struck a plea deal. He admitted to killing Hannah and accepted 4 life sentences without parole. But Matthew's crimes didn't end there. In October 2014, he was charged for a 2005 attack on a woman in Fairfax, Virginia. Initially, he pleaded not guilty, but in June 2015, he entered an Alford plea. While he didn't admit guilt outright, he acknowledged the strength of the evidence against him. For this crime, he received 3 more life sentences. By the end of these proceedings, Jesse Matthew was convicted for multiple violent offenses and sentenced to spend the rest of his life behind bars. Hannah Graham's death left an indelible mark on her community. At the University of Virginia, her friends and classmates created a campus memorial to honor her life. This space became a source of comfort and reflection for everyone who knew her. Efforts to remember Hannah extended beyond the university. The World Bank established an annual award in her name to fight gender-based violence, a cause that continues to make a global impact. In 2021, the Hannah E. Graham Memorial Scholarship was introduced, supporting students with a love for softball, a sport Hannah was passionate about. Through these initiatives, her legacy lives on, inspiring positive change and keeping her memory alive. Hannah's story, though tragic, reminds us of the strength of community and the importance of standing against violence. Her life, though cut short, continues to inspire action and hope for a better future.